and welcome to Surya Ayurveda Facebook live page. Today I am going to share one aspect which has been talked many times by many those who are either using Ayurvedic product for their well-being or some practitioners and many students, that how we can select and how we can be sure that the product what we are using are good quality, are effective. So this issue is something will be associated with every type of product when you use for either for your personal well-being or for your client if you are a practitioner. But in Ayurveda it becomes very important, and the reason is because in Ayurveda the products predominantly used are herbs, and now the quality of the herbs can vary from one aspect to the many component will need to be looked at by the person who is trying to buy such product. Unfortunately, many of us, their prime consideration can be the price tag. And those who are looking from the price perspective, I don't think they will be able to understand the quality component, no matter how much you try to explain the aspect with them. I do understand and I totally agree that price consideration has to be whenever, whatever you go and buy or trying to buy. But when we talk about herbs or when we talk about such product, what you are trying to buy for your well-being or well-being of your near and dear one, then only consideration of the price can be sometimes very detrimental. And that relate to everything, but when Ayurvedic product comes up, it becomes the most crucial part. Now, why I am saying that? Because those who are studying Ayurveda, they will know when they learn herbology, where the knowledge about the herbs is taught to them in much more detail. And not only about the herbs, they are also taught that how these herbs are collected, what considerations has to be given to them before they get into powder form, because each herbs come from the plant, either big or small or shrub. Now in many products, many herbs, either their roots are used, sometimes barks are used, sometimes panchang means all the part, the branches, and some might be using fruit, some might be using seed, some herbs are made from the flowers even. So when this understanding is there with the person who is using those products, and able to identify the quality of that product, then he or she has a lot of peace of mind that whatever I am using the right quality. But sometimes it is very difficult unless you have seen these plant or trees all growing in the areas where they have the right climate, right environment, right surroundings. In Ayurveda, yes, organic component is very essential. for everything. But in Ayurveda, organic is not the one component which can give you the guarantee that the product what you are using is of high quality. Reason is, the most fundamental part is the herb should be grown in the right climate. Right climate means many of our Ayurvedic herbs need to be grown in the Himalayas, means upper hilly range predominantly. For them, a certain type of environment is essential. But being on a commercial aspect, nowadays these products are grown in every climate, and then they get sold according to their potencies and qualities. And for a simple person, no matter how much bookish knowledge you might have, if you have not been able to experience these plants from the scratch, from the ground level, to just assess from the powder of a plant will be very difficult. So in that respect, you need to rely on such companies which can give you that peace of mind that how these herbs has been collected, then their drying, then their purification process. Because what happened, and I will give you many examples, even though it might take a lot of time, but it is important for me to share today all these aspects. When we collect branches in many herbs, you have to use branches also to make it in powder form, or especially when we are even making decoctions, kashayam, and then there is one preparation we talk about asavarishta. So you still have to use a lot of various such part of the plant, or even sometime you are using root. Now if you are using root, you can't just take the root and then get them into powder form. You have to take the root, you have to purify first all the impurities which will be carrying when it is in the earth deep down, and then to dry them. But before drying, they need to be cleaned. That is where specifically different wash of the water to be used. And then there is a specific time frame in which season you have to collect, because in different season the potency of the plant will be more dominant in the root, sometime it is in the fruit, sometime in the bark. So that seasonal consideration is also there. Saying so, even when you have selected the right root of the plant and you have dried them, but if you have not purified, because sometime you can see in the earth there can be small insects, or these kind of things can be in the root or in the branches of that plant. And now if you have not minutely looked into, purify them, discarded the part which is not accessible, not usable, different rhizome can be of the various plant can be in that condition, then what happen? End product, what you will get in the powder form, will not be able to get identified that it get powder with all those impurities. Even sometime insects get, when they get into powder form, no one can identify. Germany, it's around about 20 years ago. was that someone have used the and a lot of complications, vomiting, diarrhea, and a lot of rashes comes up on their skin and kind of thing. And then the article was written by someone criticizing that Ayurvedic herbs are toxic, Ayurvedic herbs are impure, and all that part. And it was early days when I came in this part of the world. And somehow the reference of the writer was given there, and they have their email and the phone number. So I thought that it is better for me to give them a call and just discuss that what actually the issue is. So I called them and tried to cut short by all this conversation. And when I shared with them who am I and why I'm calling, my concern, what is there, and I asked them from where and how you have got these products, or the, and then he mentioned that it is about ashwagandha, and I said from where you bought it, and he mentioned a area which is known for commercial herbs buying. Now commercial herbs means you can buy ashwagandha there $2 kg, or you can buy ashwagandha there $40 kg. Why, someone will ask, what is the disparity? Disparity is in all these processes. Collection of the herbs, cleaning process, purification process, drying process, how they get dried, and then getting into powder form. When actually we get more into that, and they told me that we still have those roots of ashwagandha in our store because we have bought quite a big bag, and I told them go and cut the rhizome from the center before you start drying it up, means before you start getting into crushed into the grinders and powder. And I told them what might have happened, because I was too far, but based on my experience working in the pharmacies for last 20 years before coming to the Western world, I know what sort of things must have happened. Ashwagandha otherwise should not be causing that problem. And same thing happened. After 2 days, they called me and told me that, and they told me the photos that what actually was there. And then they cut the rhizome, and inside still living insects and so many of other aspects were there. And they told me that we appreciate your comments and we appreciate. I said that's not the case. Point here is how you can buy these such things just for the sake of that this shop is selling you cheap, and then as compared to the other one you thought that other person is just cheating and like that. So this is just one example in relation to the herbs. Collection, storage, drying up, purifying before they get into powder is very essential. Then the second important part is when you are selecting the herbs, most of the time again consideration of the price comes up, and people say, okay, ashwagandha powder I can buy $40 now in the powder form. Someone is selling at $70. Straight away look like that he is ripping me off. But when you ask them what meshes this powder is, they will ask what you mean by meshes, what is that? And that's where they get real into trouble. If you are using 60 meshes, 40 meshes, you can buy that product in that cost what we are talking about, as compared to if you want to go to 120 meshes or 100 meshes or 140 meshes. What is that process is? Process is that from the either bark or the root has to get into powder form. More finer the powder, more its potency is, and more easy absorption is the part there. Minute particles, absorption, breaking down is much quicker than those coarse herbs which you are buying just for the sake of cost. So that's another aspect need to be looked into, the herbs part. Now another thing is, you must be able to clearly understand when you are trying to take a herb or trying to go into the these market, to smell or fragrance of the herb. The herbs which are strong in potency, their fragrance, their smell will be peculiar there and always much intact, and that gives you that how fresh that particular herb is in the market. Because when you are buying, you have to then sell, so shelf life will be there, but it all about it's the potencies. So that aspect, if someone is not able to know that how the potency of various herbs will be, and when the potency start getting more weaker, what signs will be coming up, color change comes up, smell gets changed. So you cannot just stuck with the price tag. This is one I'm just giving you example in the herbs, single herbs, ashwagandha, brahmi, jatamansi, kutuki, gokshura, ganduchi, to name few, like many herbs we use. So you, if not sure, I will advise you that you rely on those people who are selling these products to you, so that that person's credibility will help you to trust and believe that what they are giving you at least will be good quality. You might pay a little bit extra, but at the end of the day you have that peace of mind. Either you are using for yourself or you are trying to sell it to your customer. You might be a wonderful Ayurvedic practitioner. Your diagnostic skills must be so good and you have put so much effort to diagnose your client. Now at the end, when you are selecting herbs and trying to prescribe the herbs to your client, if you have not used the right kind of herbs, all your effort gone wasted, because end result will affect you, not anyone else. Because if the outcome of your all effort are not coming in the form of client getting better, who is going to be blamed? You will be blamed as a practitioner. Or if you are consuming yourself and you have used herbs which are not good quality, their action will not be that what you are looking for, your problems will still be there. So you might then blame Ayurveda. Ayurveda not need to get blamed. You need to get yourself blamed that I went into the process of just saving $2 or $4 or $10. For health, these considerations are not important that you just put your health at risk for the cost of some product. So that's one thing you always need to remember. Now second thing comes up in our Western world, because majority of these products come from India, all the herbs, and if you are using and trying to use a good quality product. Now when even with the single herbs, as I shared before, many of us get caught into that process of organic, but when you are looking for these therapeutic herbs, organic is not only one component of giving you that assurance and peace of mind that my products are of high quality. There are many other considerations. Now one of the main consideration is, for which Ayurveda is always blamed, the heavy metal and other biological impurities and test. Now when you are buying any product in India, in local market, what we call as commercial market, or the products which are available in the local retail shops, those products are for local market. Now in local market, there are same person will have different gradations of the product with you, but not even getting into that, in local market you will never find any herb which is sold there after all the testing for the heavy metals and all those microbiological test. And when you are having the product in this particular market, Australia, New Zealand or other countries, you need to have a certification for each batch of your herbs for all the heavy metal test and other tests. And if your supplier is not able to have that, many of supplier, what they do is they one time will buy the product from one company who might be able to give them those certificates, and then try to buy the product from the local market, the cheap product I'm talking about. And if someone has asked that, can you show me you have the certificate, and they will say yes, and if you look at the certificate will be in 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or not with the same batch what they are selling to you. So this kind of consideration you must make as far as the selecting the herbs goes on. And then there are so many other products, because in Ayurveda we use herbs as a one single. Then we have churnas, then we have bhattis, means tablet, then we have asavrishtas. Now asavrishtas is another preparation which is widely used by Ayurvedic practitioners, because these are the products which are very complex, because the way they get prepared, I'm not going to go into that, but again their absorption into the deep finer tissues and cell more quickly, based on the one principle what we call as alcohol principle. What is alcohol? I'm sure many of you must have used in your life. So alcohol's absorption and the impact on the nervous tissue is much faster than anything else. Same principle goes with the asavrishta. But now, and again, another thing is, now if you are buying an asavrishta, just for the sake of again the cost consideration, you will be again compromising on many components. One component is again the same which I shared with the herb part. If the product you are buying, even you buying the product from a reputed company, but you are buying a product of that company from the local, for the local market and not the export only, then again all those parameters of from scratch, sourcing, drying, all that component might not be met effectively, and then all the tests which I just shared might not have get done properly. And then another component comes up in asavrishtas, the strength of the product. Strength of the product means the way it get prepared, the proportion of the main herbs, proportion of the prakshepa dravyas which goes additional, the accessory herbs and ingredient, and then the main comes up about using sweetener. Majority of these asavrishtas will have sugar also. 90% people will be using just the white sugar there. So not jaggery or not raw sugar or shakkar, that's the main component, the way they should be used. But for export quality, majority of the firms will be using those kind of substances. And then when these all get done and all that right ingredient are used, price will be a little bit different. Even one of my students was asking about these consideration, that how come someone will be selling the product at that cost and some are selling, like even the Surya where we are talking about, are selling at that product. So it is sometimes very difficult to make even our practitioner who are always stand for qualities, to give them that assurance that there are various considerations, because price tag becomes very, very difficult to give them that understanding that it's not just the price, there are so many considerations we need to be keeping in mind. And then the other part comes up again in the same way, different avlehas, different ghritam get made. Now I don't want to get into these things, but ghritam again is one of our very specific Ayurvedic preparations, but in that the quality of the ghee or grit is used can vary from 0 to the 100%. Now you might say, what is 0? Don't ask me to talk about. If you go India and find out how this pure ghee is being prepared or sold in many places, you will find that what is happening. So it's unfortunate. It happens in any industry. It's not just the Ayurvedic I'm talking about. I'm not here to criticize Ayurveda. I'm here to make my client, my student, my practitioner aware about the quality of the product so that we can safeguard collectively our client and those who are trusting Ayurveda. We should be standing for them and giving them the best quality so that they can use it and can get the best benefit. Now other considerations comes up about the preparation of these products. Now when the preparation of the product comes up, because again we are talking about now Australia and New Zealand, no matter how good pharmacies or companies we have in India, which get justified with the GMP certifications and other regulations, and majority of the good companies who are into export, they will have all these certifications, and they try to prepare product to the highest standards, but each country has their own standards, and same is in our Australia. In Australia we have TGA, therapeutic good administrative part, and for them any company who is preparing the product need to be GMP certified by TGA. And unfortunately in India there are no GMP certified company, and the reason only is because they did not look into these market from that angle, because every company look at that, what is the outcome for me to get to your company GMP certified by TGA. It cost you good amount of the money upfront, but at the same time this is a piece of mind for all practitioners who are practicing in this part of the world, either Ayurvedic practitioner or naturopaths or herbalists who are now getting more and more into Ayurveda. And the reason behind that is very obvious, that majority of such practitioners are becoming more aware that the herbs, Ayurvedic herbs, synergy and action is totally different from what we talk about so-called natural product, because we have talked on this issue many times that Ayurvedic herbs, either you are using single or complex combined herb, their role is to correct the cause which is leading to the problem, whether it relate with your heart, whether it relate with your kidney, whether it relate with your liver, not to supplement the function of those organs. If they are not performing the job properly, you don't worry about correcting the problem which at a first place has impacted that organ, but rather than supplementing that kind of enzyme or that kind of function. So now they have started recognizing the difference of Ayurvedic herbs action and the way they work, so that we can help the client to use those formulations, use your product, and then by making changes in their lifestyle, diet, and using those products which can then correct the function of that particular organ, and at the end of the day they don't need to just rely on those products for their whole life. So with that consideration, those who have been practicing in this part of the world for such a long time, for them it is a peace of mind when they say TGA approved product. So far in Australia there are not many TGA approved Ayurvedic products. When we talk about TGA approved Ayurvedic products, means complex, traditionally used formulations or complex formulations. Yes, there are some herbs get approved by TGA by one company or the other and then come into the market. That's a different thing, because Brahmi is nowadays an herb which everyone use, and someone get the product approved, means herbs approved as a TGA, and try selling. So that's one aspect. But when you are trying to look for the complex formulations for which Ayurvedic products are known for, never have been in the market, because again it's a huge cost to get such products approved. They have to go so much of rigorous testing, and those all testing are not something you can get it done in India. All those tests has to be done in a GMP certified company by TGA. So all control is by them. All the raw material has to be sourced by them, and they will be the one who will check from the very initial stages to the end product. So it becomes a quite tedious process. But for the last 5 to 6 years, our team, including myself and Michael, Richard, our one focus was that how we can get some products approved by TGA, so that our practitioner can feel peace of mind, and not our practitioner only, our public who are getting into using Ayurvedic products, and even though they can trust their practitioners and those who are prescribing them the product, and not much worried about the TGA approved or stamp, but still somewhere in the back of their mind they always look for that if the product is an TGA approved, at least then they are very confident. So on that consideration, what we were always looking for, and in these last 6 years, yes, it cost us a lot. We don't here to talk about the cost or what happened and like that, but we are very happy and feel proud and feel humble to announce that at last Surya Ayurveda will have 9 products which are complex Ayurvedic formulations, and formulations are finalized by myself based on what I have used for last 43 years in my clinical practice on our client for those various ailments, and those products are coming up as a TGA approved under our brand Ayurveda, and those products will be soon available to the public as well as to the practitioner, so that at least with a lot of confidence, lot of peace of mind and lot of satisfaction, they can use those products in their practice and for their client, and client can use for their own well-being, for their family members' well-being, and also those products will be available to all the naturopaths, herbalists or medical practitioners who are getting into using Ayurvedic product. So that where my main focus was today, to share that there is a concern about the quality of the Ayurvedic product, and it is not only to blame Ayurvedic product, it is same for those who are trying to use the product themselves, and those who are just for the sake of getting something a bit cheaper, they can bring in a bad name to the whole system. So you can always trust Surya Ayurveda and its product. Reason of that is, yes, Surya Ayurveda is another online store. You might say, well, how and why we should support and trust it. One thing is, I am practicing for the last 43 years Ayurveda, and You might say it might be true to everyone. Yeah, totally agree. But for me, integrity, honesty, and the most important is the name of Ayurveda is much more important and dearer to my heart. Cost considerations are not my part. That's why sometimes, even though at Surya we try to keep our product cost and everything much on the same line, so that public can get the good quality product, but at the same time it's not too much cost to them. But sometimes certain products you might find that are a little bit different or other. So I will always request you not to just keep the consideration of cost, but look for the quality. Once you have used the product, if you are not happy, you can always email me personally. I stand for Ayurveda and Surya Ayurveda's product under the brand of Ayurveda. For their, I can give my personal guarantee, and we will always be in your service for the quality product. Thanks everyone. That's what I want to share.